My name is Rosenthal, and I teach throughout the year in the Artist Beit Midrash, the full-time program, and also in the July Institute. This week's Parsha is Parashat Beshalach, in which Bnei Israel finally break free from the Egyptians, crossing Yam Suf into freedom. The story of the splitting of Yam Suf is one of the single most seminal narratives of the Jewish people. It marks both the fulfillment of God's promise of redemption and also the beginnings of the covenantal relationship that arise between God and Bnei Israel. Much of the focus in this parsha often goes to Shirat Hayam, the beautiful, joyful, if vengeful song sung by Bnei Israel after they crossed the sea. However, the moments leading up to the crossing of the sea merit consideration as well, both for their mystery and for their beauty. It is clear from the Torah that when the people reach the sea, they are not sure what to do, trapped with water on one side and with the Egyptians coming on the other side. In fact, God has to tell Moshe, Ma titzak alai, daber el b'nei Yisrael ve'yasu. Why do you cry out to me? Tell Bnei Israel to go forward. Although Bnei Israel has been longing to go free, when they are faced with the moment where they must make this choice, trapped between the Egyptians and the sea, they are paralyzed. This is the moment where God's presence, manifest in a pillar, blocks everything out for the Egyptians, allowing Bnei Israel to move forward. At which point Moshe finally springs into action. Vayit Moshe et yado al hayam, vayolech Hashem et hayam beruach kadim azak kol halayla, vayasem et hayam lechavara vayivku hamayim. Then Moshe held out his arm over the sea, and Hashem drove back the sea with a strong east wind all that night, and turned the sea into dry ground. The waters were split. Vayovu b'nei Yisrael b'toch hayam b'yabasha, v'hamayim lahem choma miminam u'mismolam. And the Israelites went into the sea on dry ground, the waters forming a wall for them, on their right and on their left. Not surprisingly, Chazal is fascinated by this moment, trying to answer a single essential question. What really happened at Yam Suf? One of my favorite midrashim that attempts to answer this question comes from Shemot Rabbah, commenting on the idea that the Israelites went into the sea on dry ground. This verse seems to be inherently contradictory. If they are in the sea, how can they be on dry ground, and vice versa? The Midrash offers two narratives about what happened to Bnei Israel when they entered the sea. Vayovu b'nei Israel b'toch hayam b'yabasha, im bayam lama bayabasha, v'im bayabasha lama b'toch hayam. And the Israelites went into the sea on dry ground. If they were in the sea, why on dry ground? And if they were in dry ground, why on the sea? Ela mikana talamad shelo nikra lahem hayam ad shebo letocho ad chotmam v'achar kach naseh lahem yabasha. Instead, from this you learn that the sea was not split for them until they went in up to their noses, and after it was made dry land for them. Drash Rabbi Nehurai, Hayta ba Yisrael overet bayam, ubana b'yada ubocha, uposhetet yada v'notelet tapuach orimo mitoch hayam, v'notenet lo. Rabbi Nehurai taught, a daughter of Israel passed through the sea with her children in her hands, and he cried. So she would reach out in with her hands and grab an apple or a pomegranate from the middle of the sea and give it to them. Shene'emar, v'yilichem b'tohomut kamibar. As it says in Tehillim, and he led them through the depths as through the wilderness. Baba mibar lo chasru klum, af b'tehomot lo chasru klum. Just as they lacked nothing in the wilderness, they lacked nothing in the sea. And what we see in this midrash is suddenly Bnei Israel are no longer passive bystanders in their own redemption. Instead, they are forced to take a risk for themselves. Freedom requires more of them than the passivity of waiting for someone to come by and tell them what to do. There is something extremely powerful about the image of Bnei Israel being in the water up to their noses. They are forced to wait until the very last moment, when it seems that help will not come, to actually be saved. However, once they have taken that risk, God protects them and offers them abundance, even in the midst of the sea. And that is the power of the woman who gets to find fruit for her child, the ability to find blessings in unexpected places. This is the model of partnership that God tries to build throughout the rest of the Torah. God will protect the people, but they have to show that they are willing to take risks to affirm their faith. They need to be willing to look at the world with the belief that something other than their current reality is possible. And it is this act of faith of going into the water up to their noses that allows God to build a relationship with them and bless them with a life different from the ones that they have already known. Shabbat Shalom.